Inside the kitchen, what prisoners really eat behind bars. The shocking truth. The tray slid across the metal counter. A scoop of watery beans, a slice of stale bread, and a pale gray piece of meat that nobody could identify. The inmate looked down, his face twisting in disgust. He whispered, "This isn't food. This is punishment." Moments later, he shoved the tray back and chaos erupted. Guards rushed in. Prisoners banged their trays on the tables, and the kitchen turned into a war zone of hunger and anger. But here's the real question. How did prison food get this bad? And what's really hiding inside those kitchens? The kitchen doors open. First glimpse. Before that shocking scene, we have to step inside the prison kitchen itself. The place is nothing like a regular cafeteria. The air smells of bleach mixed with spoiled milk. Steam rises from giant metal pots, and the sound of clanging trays echoes off the walls. Prisoners in hairnets and aprons shuffle nervously under the watch of armed guards. It's here, inside these walls, that the daily meals are prepared for thousands of inmates. The daily menu. Breakfast usually means a scoop of watery oatmeal, sometimes cold before it reaches the cells. Lunch is often processed meat, mystery loaf, or beans that taste like cardboard. Dinner, a repeat of lunch, maybe with overcooked rice or mushy vegetables. One inmate once joked, "The only difference between lunch and dinner is the time of day." But behind the jokes is a painful reality. This food is all some inmates have to survive. Hidden shortcuts. Inside the kitchen, the cooks, who are actually inmates themselves, cut corners to keep up with impossible deadlines. A guard shouts, 10 minutes left! Instead of seasoning, giant scoops of salt are dumped into the pot. Instead of fresh vegetables, cans of expired peas are opened. Food deliveries often arrive half-spoiled. But nothing goes to waste here. Everything gets cooked. Everything gets served. The boiling point. At first, prisoners eat the meals quietly, too tired to protest. But day after day, week after week, the meals get worse. The meat looks raw, the milk smells sour, the bread crumbles like sand in their hands. Then, one night, it happens. A group of inmates flip their trays upside down, food splattering across the floor. They scream that they're being poisoned. Guards rush in, alarms blare, fists slam against tables, and the dining hall explodes with noise. That was the moment the prison kitchen stopped being just about food and became a battleground. The riot over food. The dining hall erupts. The room shakes with noise. Metal trays crash onto the floor, beans and rice splattering like paint across the walls. Some inmates pound the tables, their fists thundering in unison. Others shout, "We won't eat this garbage!" Guards charge in, swinging batons, shouting for order. The smell of sweat, spoiled food, and fear mixes in the air. For a moment, it looks like a full-scale riot is about to explode. Guards clamp down. Within minutes, the guards force prisoners back to their seats. One officer presses a knee into an inmate's back, while another drags a man across the floor. The dining hall falls silent again, except for the heavy breathing of dozens of inmates staring at their trays in anger. The guards bark, "Eat, or go hungry." For the prisoners, this isn't just about bad food anymore. It's about dignity and survival, the quiet rebellion. After the chaos, many inmates don't touch their meals. Instead, they stash food in hidden pockets, trading with others later for cigarettes, soap, or ramen noodles bought from commissary. In the shadows, a new economy is born. One slice of bread can buy protection. A packet of ketchup can spark a fight, and a simple bag of ramen? That's considered gold behind bars. This quiet rebellion, finding ways around the prison food, slowly grows stronger each day. A sinister discovery. But soon, whispers spread through the cell blocks. Something isn't right. Inmates begin to notice patterns, stomach cramps, nausea, even food poisoning after certain meals. Late at night, one prisoner whispers to another, "They're feeding us spoiled meat. They know it, and they don't care." The next morning, an inmate collapses in the chow line, clutching his stomach, gasping for help. Guards shout for medical staff and panic spreads again. The food that was supposed to keep them alive was now making them sick. The poison on the plate. Collapse in the chow line. The inmate falls hard against the concrete floor, his tray crashing beside him. Other prisoners step back, some shouting for help, others staring in silence. His face twists in pain, his stomach locked in cramps. Guards call for medical staff, but minutes feel like hours. Finally, 2 officers drag him out by his arms, his shoes scraping against the floor. The room goes silent. Everyone knows it was the food, where the food comes from. The truth is, most prisons don't cook with fresh food. They rely on bulk contracts with private companies that provide the cheapest meals possible. Boxes of frozen meat, cans of vegetables, and powdered eggs arrive in trucks. But here's the dark secret. Many of those deliveries are past their expiration date. Sometimes the labels are scratched off. Sometimes the smell is already sour when the boxes are opened. Yet everything is dumped into the same pots, cooked, served, forgotten kitchen secrets. Inside the kitchen, inmates who work as cooks know the truth. One former kitchen worker confessed, "We'd open boxes of chicken that smelled rotten. The guards told us, just add more seasoning. And we served it anyway. When food ran short, recipes were stretched with water, flour, or even scraps from yesterday's meals. To the guards, it was just numbers on a chart. To the inmates, it was their health, their lives, the boiling rumor. Word spreads fast across the prison yard. Whispers of inmates being poisoned, of meat unfit for animals, of guards looking the other way. Tension builds. At night, a group of inmates huddle in the dark. They vow to expose the truth about the prison kitchen, even if it costs them everything. And then, one morning, the unthinkable happens. A group of prisoners refuse to step inside the dining hall at all. They push their trays back, untouched. It's the beginning of a hunger strike. The hunger strike. The first refusal. The chow line opens. Guards shout, "Step up!" But the prisoners stand still. One by one, trays are slid back without being touched. The room falls silent. No shouting, no banging, just the sound of trays clattering back onto the counter. It's a silent protest, a strike against the very food that was supposed to keep them alive. The tension rises. At first, the guards laugh it off. "Fine. Don't eat," one officer sneers. But as hours pass and dozens, then hundreds, refuse their meals, the mood shifts. The prison warden is notified. Whispers ripple through the cell blocks. "We're not alone anymore. This is bigger than food. It's about survival." Retaliation. The administration moves quickly. Lights are left on all night to break the inmate's will. Cells are searched, ramen noodles and hidden snacks are confiscated. The kitchen suddenly starts serving slightly better meals. Fresh fruit, softer bread. But the inmates know it's a trick. The hunger strike continues. Breaking point. By the 4th day, men collapse in their cells. Medical staff rush through the tiers, checking pulses, handing out IVs. But still, many refuse to eat. Then one morning, the guards march in with riot gear. Shields slam, boots stomp, and voices thunder. "End the strike, or we end it for you." The prisoners brace themselves, and then in the middle of the chaos, one inmate stands tall, shouting above the noise, "If we eat, we die. If we fight, we live." The dining hall explodes with chants, fists pounding on the metal tables. The guards tighten their grip on their batons. It's about to turn violent. Clash in the dining hall. Riot gear march. The heavy steel doors slam open. A line of guards in full riot gear storms into the dining hall, helmets, shields, and batons ready. The echo of boots on concrete drowns out the chants of inmates. The tension is electric. One spark could light the whole room. The first blow. It happens fast. A guard shoves an inmate with his shield. The man stumbles, but instead of falling back, he throws his untouched tray onto the ground. The crash echoes like a gunshot. Suddenly, the room explodes. Inmates pound the tables. Others flip their trays, food flying everywhere. The hunger strike is no longer silent. It has turned into open defiance. The guards' response. Batons swing, prisoners duck, some fight back with fists, others hurl food as weapons. A boiling pot in the kitchen tips over, spilling hot water across the floor. The smell of burned beans and steam fills the air. Guards drag men out one by one, forcing them to the ground. But the more they take down, the louder the chants grow. The secret weapon. In the middle of the chaos, a small group of inmates slip out of line of sight. They've been planning this moment. Hidden inside their jumpsuits are scraps of paper, folded notes smuggled out of the kitchen. Those notes contain the truth, records of expired meat deliveries, spoiled milk reports, and warnings ignored by staff. The prisoners know if these papers reach the outside world, the prison's dirty secret will finally be exposed. But as one inmate clutches the papers to his chest, a guard spots him. The officer lunges forward, ripping at his uniform, trying to tear the evidence away. The fight for the truth. Struggle in the shadows. The guard grabs at the inmate's jumpsuit, yanking hard. The folded notes spill to the floor. For a split second, they flutter like feathers across the dirty tiles. The inmate dives, snatching the papers back. Another prisoner shields him, shoving the guard away. But more officers close in, batons raised. The truth, everything they risked for, hangs by a thread. The kitchen whistleblower. Inside the chaos, one inmate cook slips out of the kitchen doors. He knows the secrets better than anyone. He's seen the rotten meat, the moldy bread, the spoiled milk poured into pitchers. He whispers to himself, if I can just get this to the warden's office, someone has to listen. But even he knows, the warden doesn't want this truth exposed. He risks not just punishment, but his life. The smuggling attempt. The prisoner with the notes is cornered. A guard rips the papers from his hands and crumples them. The room goes still. But then, out of nowhere, another inmate yells, "Catch!" The papers are tossed across the room, flying over trays and tables. A third inmate catches them and bolts toward the back exit. The guards roar in anger, sprinting after him. The lockdown. Alarms blare. Red lights flash across the dining hall. The steel doors slam shut with a deafening clang. Nobody in, nobody out. The inmate with the papers is trapped inside, the guards closing in on him. He presses the notes against his chest, whispering, "They can't bury this. Not again." But then the loudspeaker crackles. The warden's cold voice echoes through the hall. The warden's ultimatum. The voice of power. The dining hall falls silent as the warden's voice crackles over the loudspeaker. You think you're starving yourselves for justice? You're wrong. You're starving yourselves for nothing. The prisoners glare upward, fists clenched, papers still hidden inside one inmate's uniform. The warden's words drip with cold authority. This strike ends now, or you'll wish you had eaten. Divide and conquer. Guards move through the rows, offering trays stacked with fresh fruit, real meat, even steaming coffee. Some prisoners hesitate. For men who haven't eaten in days, the smell is torture. The warden knows. Hunger breaks unity. A few inmates take the food, shame heavy on their faces. The rest sit stone still, glaring at those who give in. Cracks are beginning to show. Punishment unleashed. When persuasion fails, the warden makes his next move. Cells are raided, mattresses tossed, belongings destroyed. One by one, leaders of the strike are dragged to solitary confinement, tiny dark boxes where the hunger grows worse with no witnesses. But even in the silence of solitary, whispers of resistance carry. The hunger strike refuses to die. The secret meeting. Late that night, with the prison still on lockdown, a small group of inmates huddle in the shadows of the chapel. The man holding the crumpled paper speaks quietly. This is bigger than us. If we can get these notes out, letters, smuggled calls, anything, we expose the truth. Eyes flicker with both hope and fear. They know, if caught, the punishment will be brutal. But if successful, the outside world will finally know what's really happening inside these kitchens. Suddenly, the door bursts open. Floodlights blind them. Guards storm in. And at the center of the chaos stands the warden himself, face to face with the warden, the standoff. The guards shove inmates against the chapel walls. The warden steps forward, his polished shoes clicking against the floor. He scans the faces of the prisoners, hungry, exhausted, but defiant. "You think you're heroes?" he sneers. "You're nothing but criminals, and criminals don't win." But even as he speaks, his eyes land on the inmate clutching the crumpled notes, the threat. The warden signals to the guards. One officer raises his baton, pressing it against the prisoner's chest. "Hand it over," the warden commands, "or I'll make sure none of you eat again. Not one crumb." The room goes cold. Every prisoner knows the threat is real. Meals could vanish, commissary shut down, even water rationed. Still, the inmate holds the papers tighter. The test of loyalty. The warden changes tactics. He points to another prisoner, thin, shaking, lips cracked from hunger. "You want him to die for your little stunt? Give me the notes and maybe he eats tonight." The room trembles with silence. The prisoners look at each other, torn between loyalty and survival. The man with the papers lowers his eyes, breathing heavy, torn apart by the weight of his choice. The spark of defiance. And then, out of nowhere, another inmate shouts, "We're already dying. You can't starve us more than you already have." The words ignite the room. Inmates pound their fists, voices rising into a thunderous roar that drowns out the warden's threats. The guards tighten their grips on batons and shields, preparing for violence. The warden's face twists with rage. He raises his hand, ready to give the order that could end everything. The warden's order. The command. The warden's hand drops. "Shut it down," he roars. Guards surge forward, shields slamming against prisoners, batons swinging. The chapel erupts in screams and chaos, metal against flesh, fists against shields, the deafening clash of desperation. The prisoners fight back, not with weapons, but with sheer defiance, using their bodies to shield the man holding the papers. The human wall. Inmates form a circle, shoulder to shoulder, protecting the evidence at the center. Blows rain down, but they refuse to break. One prisoner shouts through the chaos, get it out now!" The inmate clutching the papers looks for a way, any way to escape. But every door is blocked, every guard closing in tighter. The hidden passage. Just when it seems hopeless, an older inmate yells, "The laundry chute, behind the storage room." It's a forgotten passage rarely used, leading straight to the lower levels. If the papers can be slipped down there, they might find their way into the hands of someone outside the prison. But the warden spots the desperate glance. His cold eyes narrow. Don't let him move. Desperate escape. The inmate makes a break for it. He sprints through the chaos, clutching the crumpled notes like his life depends on it. Guards charge after him, boots thundering, batons raised high. He dives toward the storage room, shoving open the old wooden door. The sound of footsteps thunders behind him, closer, closer. He reaches for the chute handle when a guard tackles him from behind. The papers fly into the air, scattering across the floor like falling leaves. Scramble for the truth. Papers in the air. The chapel becomes a storm. Crumbled notes swirl through the air, drifting toward the dirty floor. Dozens of hands shoot up. Guards, prisoners, everyone lunging at once. The papers hit the ground, boots stomp down, fingers clay, bow and tear, fighting to grab even a single scrap. A piece of hope. One inmate manages to snatch a half-crushed note. He stuffs it down his waistband, shouting, "I've got it!" A guard swings, cracking him across the back with a baton. He collapses, groaning, but refuses to let go. Another slip of paper slides under a bench, unseen by most. A younger inmate spots it and crawls low, reaching fast. Every inch closer feels like a victory. The warden's fury. The warden sees what's happening and explodes with rage. "Tear this place apart. Don't let them keep a single page." Guards rip men off the floor, tossing them against walls. The sound of fists and boots fills the room, yet still, scraps of paper vanish into prison jumpsuits, hidden away by desperate hands. The truth refuses to die quietly. The final lunge. The inmate crawling under the bench finally grabs the last untouched slip. He tucks it inside his shoe, heart pounding. But as he stands, he locks eyes with the warden. For a moment, the room freezes, guard and prisoner, both knowing that piece of paper could bring the whole system down. The warden steps forward, his face twisted with fury. "If you walk out with that, you'll never walk again." The prisoner clenches his fists, trembling, but refuses to move. The breaking point. The warden's threat. The prisoner with the paper stands frozen. The warden's glare is ice cold, his voice sharp as a blade. "Hand it over, or you'll never see daylight again." Every inmate in the room holds their breath. The choice is clear. Surrender the truth, or risk everything. The defiant move. Slowly, the prisoner bends down. The guards smirk, thinking he's about to give up. But instead, he rips off his shoe, pulls out the hidden note, and throws it as hard as he can toward the open laundry chute. The scrap of paper flutters through the air, then disappears down into the darkness below. The room explodes in chaos. The truth has escaped their grip. The warden's rage. The warden's face turns red with fury. He orders, "Take them all. Solitary, every last one of them." Prisoners are dragged out, shackled, beaten, silenced. The chapel is cleared, the hunger strike leaders locked away in tiny cells. The prison thinks it has crushed the rebellion. But deep inside, the warden knows one piece of paper is gone, and once outside, it could spread like wildfire. The truth escapes, the hidden path. Days later, in the prison laundry room, a worker finds a crumpled note stuck in a bundle of sheets. It's smuggled out quietly, passed from hand to hand, until it lands in the hands of a journalist. The note is short, almost desperate, but powerful. "They feed us spoiled food, expired meat, rotten milk. We are getting sick. We are dying. Please, tell the world." The outside world reacts. Within weeks, headlines erupt. Prisoners poisoned by rotting food. Whistleblower letter sparks investigation. Activists protest outside the prison gates. Families demand answers. Lawyers file lawsuits against the contractors supplying the meals. The truth that began in a filthy kitchen now shakes the prison system from the outside. The last word. Back inside. The inmates remain locked down. The hunger strike is over, but the fire of defiance still burns. They don't know who made it out, who carried the truth forward, but they know one thing: the world finally heard them. As the warden paces his office, watching the news unfold, he mutters under his breath, "One slip of paper, and everything unravels." The camera pulls back, showing the prison walls towering high, barbed wire sharp against the sky. But beyond those walls, the truth is free. The story of prison food is not just about what's on the tray. It's about power, survival, and the fight for dignity behind bars. What started with spoiled meat and stale bread ended with a message powerful enough to break through the walls. So the question remains, if one piece of paper can expose this truth, how many more secrets are still trapped behind bars, waiting to escape?